Hello, welcome everybody to our WAN-IFRA webinar series. My name is Nicole Frankenhauser and I am the advisory coordinator for WAN-IFRA Global Advisory. Today I'm joined with my colleague Nick Tiadstra, also from WAN-IFRA, and we are pleased to bring to you today a webinar featuring our guest speaker, Elnaz Esmailzadeh, the Commercial Product Manager at Verdens Gang in Norway, on positive approaches to ad blocking for publishers. And I just want to remind our audience that our webinars are active platforms for audience engagement. So I encourage you all to ask questions, and you can find at the right-hand side of your control panel a box that is labeled questions. And you can submit those throughout the webinar, and after Elnaz concludes her presentation, we will begin our Q&A session. And I just want to show everybody in the audience today our Ad Blockers Resource Center. So we developed a one-stop shop for all content related to ad blocking, and you can find it through our WAN-IFRA homepage under Insights, and then click on ad blocking, or just use the link featured right now on your screen. And then we are excited to announce our Ad Blocking Action Day, which will take place here in Frankfurt, Germany. We're partnering with Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, and our Ad Blocking Day will take place on Thursday, February 11th, 2016. And we're going to address two core topics for ad blocking. First, how are publishers taking steps to improve the user experience? And secondly, what steps can you take to win back readers who are actively blocking? And so we just want to get everyone together. It's a topic that our members have expressed interest in. We've established a task force here with WAN-IFRA, so this is a good opportunity to meet fellow peers and discuss challenges in the industry and how you're positively approaching ad blocking in your own organization. And I'd like to announce that for webinar registrants today, you'll receive a 20% off for the Action Day. And after the webinar concludes, I will go ahead and send the discount registration codes featured on the bottom of the screen here. And we hope to see you there, February 11th. And recently, WAN-IFRA distributed a survey to all of our member organizations on the effects of ad blocking for publishers. So now my colleague Nick Tiadstra will give the audience an overview on the survey results and the impact of ad blocking for publishers.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. We just wanted to talk about this very quickly. At WAN-IFRA, we've been doing a lot of activity around ad blocking in the last 7 or 8 weeks especially. And about 4 or 5 weeks, we went out with a survey to all of our stakeholders, to all the publishers, and we had a really good response. We had 82 responses, but they very detailed comments, and a lot of CEOs among that, and digital directors, commercial directors as well. Some of this you can read after the webinar, but I'll just touch on a few of the key aspects. So, of course, we found a lot of people were keen to have an industry-wide response on ad blocking. In response to that, we've formed a task force with some of the key publishers involved, and that includes guys from Schibsted, who are represented, in fact, here today with Elnaz, as VG is part of Schibsted. We also have RCS from Italy, Die Welt from Germany, we have the Globe and Mail, we have New York Times, and a number of others, including the Austrians and UK associations. So if you are keen to get involved in this in a more active way, then just get in touch with me or with my colleague, Ben Shaw. So, of course, a lot of you are concerned, and between very and extremely concerned about the effects. But I think what was interesting from the survey is not so much this picture, but in terms of what you were noting in terms of the performance of your ad formats. And I think at this stage, it's clear that we're talking mostly about desktop. I think the threatened ad blockalypse, as it's been called on mobile, has not yet arrived. That may well happen, and eventually it may well affect your own apps. But at the moment we're talking about desktop, and even on desktop, it's a potential that people have not got the measurements. So not everyone is able to tell how many people are using ad blocking, and therefore to see clearly the change in their performance. That may reflect the graph that we've got in front of us here. So there's concern, but not necessarily an immediate change in performance. But also from talking to us publishers, we've seen that it's very different depending on your region. So in Asia, we're looking at 7 or 8%. Perhaps if you've got a lot of traffic from China, it could be 20%. In Germany, it can be up to 60%. So there's a real variety depending on your region. We did ask people, what's the future? So if you think this is a big problem for display advertising, what does the future hold? And almost everybody who answered this talked in some way about native advertising or branded content. But of course, there's a big question there about how you deliver that. So if you're delivering that through an ad server, through a company like Sharethrough, etc., then there's a strong chance that that could also be blocked. So it's really about the delivery method there. People also mentioned video pre-roll, but of course that can also be blocked. So really there's no magic answer to this. And I'm not going to read through all these comments, but here you can see, I think, the positive side of this discussion. So instead of being a reaction to ad blocking, the majority of people answered to say, we see this as an opportunity. So this is a way to improve the trust, to offer a better user experience to our readers. So in the same way that people like Facebook focus very, very much on UX, we've realized that we need to be doing something similar on the news side, and that means being very aggressive, you could say, in the way that you control the ads on your site. So you can see here, yes, there's a couple of people who use ad blockers themselves, and probably many of you also get annoyed with the ad experience. But I like this idea that it's a wake-up call for people. And again, just a few other comments. I think the one that I'd focus on this slide would be mobile monetization. So when we saw this issue come up, given that the ad blocking problem at the moment is mostly seen on desktop, we already knew that the audience was moving to mobile. So we already knew that we had a problem with mobile monetization. So in a way, this is just underlining that issue, and that's why I've underlined it on this slide. And when you get the final deck after this webinar, and after you've heard from Elnaz, you can read this very long quote, but I think this sums up the situation very nicely. And if you see in the middle there, it's talking about what the other people are doing. So this is not just news publishers that have driven people to install ad blockers. This is often the behavior of a lot of the other sites, perhaps the sites that are linked to from Taboola or Outbrain off your own sites, which have a very intrusive ad experience. But some of these things, I'm pretty sure a lot of you will be doing as well. So it says, until we stop running pre-rolls for 30 seconds before an advert, before our own content, without being able to skip it, you will continue to get kind of pushback from the audience. So that was just a very short introduction to the feelings of publishers across the board, or at least the ones that talk to us at WAN-IFRA. And I'd like to hand over to Elnaz to hear about what you're doing over at VG. So I'm just going to make you the presenter and hand over. A second.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I'm just going to make you the presenter here.
Yeah. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen?
Yep, we can see that now. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, perfect. Then I will start. Thanks for letting me present. I'm going to go through what VG or Schibsted in Norway has been doing Maybe some of you have some kind of relation to Schibsted, but a very short introduction is that Schibsted has a lot of classified sites, but also media sites. For instance, VG, that you can see to the right, second row. It's a tabloid newspaper, and we started to see some of the trends. For instance, if you go to Google Trends, you can specify which country you're in and how the Google search is for ad block. So as you can see, 2013 it started hitting off, and it's starting to slowly decreasing. But if you look at the time ahead and what they think it will be, it will still be a high interest. So we started tracking our ad blocking rate in 2013, and we had a quite high growth. It was from 13% blocked page views to 18% between 2013 and 2014. And now in later days, in 2015, everybody knows about the Safari and iOS 9. I can actually show the numbers that we have at the moment. It's not that high as the desktop. On mobile and tablet, we're below 1%. And I think that's due to the fact that it's still complicated to apply this on mobile. It's really easy on desktop. You just Google it and add it, and it's on all browsers. While in Norway, the biggest browser here is iOS. And if you're going to add it for Safari, you have to first know what type of app you have to add. After you've done that, you have to look for the Safari settings, finding the content blocker, and then put it on. So it's kind of complicated, and also sometimes it blocks the content. So it hasn't really hit off, but I can understand if in some countries it's a bigger issue since you save data, you save battery and such, but quite now it's not that big of a problem in Norway. But we're definitely having that in mind. So I'm going to primarily focus on the desktop in this presentation because that's a bigger issue at the moment, but we're looking for a solution that works on all platforms. We just looked through what other companies have been doing, and some of these companies have been paying adblock to force through ads, but as probably all of you listening know that there's some specifications that you have to follow in order to let through the ads. And then we have some broadcasting companies, media companies in Germany that's been suing adblock without any luck. And then we have the later cases when you block ad blockers from your content. So we're watching what everybody is doing. But first we thought that before we're doing anything, we need to get some insights from our users. Why do they have ad block on our page? So we started with this survey. Only ad blockers could see this. So when you start to click on something on our front page, you would receive this pop-up survey that we asked. We need to know a little bit more about why you're using adblock on our page. Please click on one of these options. And the outcome from this first survey was that a lot of people didn't know actually that they had adblock. Some companies are blocking it on their firewall, or maybe they will get it installed by their kids or grandkids. So our first action was to inform ad blockers that they have it on our page. The message here is in Norwegian, but we're saying that, hi there, VG reader. We have discovered that you're blocking ads. We in VG would value if you whitelist us so that we can finance our journalism with advertisement and continue to be a free news source. And then the bottom is to put on ads. So the technical solution is that we detect if you block ads and which type of browser you have, and then you get an adapted guide that's adapted to the browser that you have. We actually decreased from 18% to 14%. So it helped in some manners, you could say. So that was really good, but we also understood that we wouldn't get rid of the problem with only this type of message. So the next step was to identify who are these ad blockers. You have the page fear report. It's based on 400 people. We made it a little bit bigger. We asked approximately 25,500 of our adblock users and calculated somehow this type of demographic. And it was a lot of young men. The blue one to the right is the men, and the red is women. So it's a young age group, and it's really important because that will be our future users. So yeah, so we also compared this to official numbers in Norway. It's not representative because this is based on 100 ad blockers, but we could see the same tendencies. It's young men. So we just wanted to know a little bit more deeper about the reasons why they have it on our page. So we asked a few more questions. Here you can see that 20% said that they downloaded to avoid film advertising, such as web TV or YouTube, or used it for another site to speed up the pace. But a lot of people, 39%, were saying that they want to avoid all ads on all web pages. And then 17% didn't choose anything but wrote in free text. It's due to privacy, virus, flash, pop-up. So it's a lot of widespread answers. So we wanted to concrete it a little bit more to get more numbers, for instance, for those that were writing the free text, or defining a little bit more clear what we mean by image ads and such. So we did another survey. As you can see, on the first topping reason here, it's that they want to avoid blinking and moving ads. We want to concrete it a little bit more. Is it when they say that they don't like the image ad, is it because it's blinking, or is it too heavy and such? So the blinking issue is actually in the same degree as pre-rolls that they want to avoid. And on the third place, you can see they want to avoid pop-up ads. They think it's too much images ads online. They don't want flash ads, faster download of the web. They want to avoid these type of autoplay videos. And yeah, it continues like that because here in Norway, it's been a lot about the discussion has been about the ads are not relevant for the users. So the main reason we did this is to understand what's the first thing that we need to solve. Is it that the ads are not relevant, or is it something else? So we could conclude through this that we need to first start looking at our page, how it's built up with the ads and what type of ads we're actually accepting. So it's one thing what they answer, what they're annoyed about, but we also needed to find out what's, I mean, have they whitelisted any pages? Are they willing to do it? So we actually had follow-up questions based on what they answered on this question, on these questions. So if, for instance, if they clicked on the flash alternative, they would get a follow-up question saying that we barely have flash ads. Are you willing to whitelist us? Because as probably some of you know, flash is blocked on almost all browsers except for Internet Explorer. But it was only 19% saying that they're willing to whitelist us, knowing that it's no flash ads. We asked those that selected the relevancy issue, and 24% said, if I get more relevant ads, I will whitelist you. Those that chose pop-up ads, we said that we don't allow pop-up ads. Would you consider whitelist us? And then 28% said they're willing to do it. So these other three options show that it's more relevant to first solve this, and that's the one that's blinking. It's saying, you can see what it is. It's animated ads 47% said that they're willing to whitelist us if we remove all these blinking, moving ads. 47% also said that if we reduce the amount of ads that we have on the web page, they would also consider it. And the biggest reason here is making the page load much faster. So when the debate is about if the ad is relevant or not, I will not say that it's not an important issue, but first of all, we need to, at least VG or Schibsted, making the page more clean, fast, and also putting some requirements on what type of ads that we're actually allowing. So we also asked, I can remove the blinking animation so you won't get annoyed. We also asked, have you, sorry, have you whitelisted any page? And it was approximately 43% that said that they have whitelisted a page. And asking, when we asked which page have you whitelisted, most of them actually mentioned a tech site in Norway. It's actually the only site in Norway that's blocking ad blockers. When you go to that page, you have two options. You either have to pause ad block to see the content free, or you have to pay to see the page ad free. And it's only 1% of all their visitors that's paying to see the content or see the page without ads. So when asking why did you whitelist the page that you mentioned, almost everybody said because I was forced to. So the only main thing that our finding was about the web pages that they whitelisted. It was mainly due to the fact that they had to do it. They were forced to it. So that was also another finding. But what we're going to do days forward and the time that comes is taking all this insight and starting to do some actions, and I mean, all the time asking our ad blockers and have the dialogue. What are they thinking? Or we have done this change. What do you think? And such. So I think it's really important to get to know your ad blockers, because it might be some difference. So that's why we're going to actually in the new year launch a lazy load on our webpage, meaning that instead of loading the whole page, we will load the page that's on the screen, either it's mobile or desktop or tablet, and that will reduce the loading time. But we also did some other improvements for not only the ads but also the product itself. You can see to the left, that's our web page before, with a really bad 3G coverage, and you can see how long it takes to the page to load. But now we've done some improvements, making the page load even faster. So with these type of changes, we're trying to answer those type of complaints regarding our page load. And when it comes to the complaints about the ads that's on our page, we started dialogue with the media agencies and the customers, showing that, for instance, for these type of ads, it's been some type of answers such as, I get a migraine from less. The ads just give me migraine when I go into your page. And when they hear these type of things, they get a bigger understanding why we're going to be more strict in the future regarding the ads. Believe it or not, we receive these type of ads, and here we also showing readers saying that I'm coming in to read the news, and I get distracted from the reason why I came in, which is reading the news. If it would be static, maybe I would even read the ad. So yeah, we started the dialogue with agencies to give some more insights to them. but we're actually going to be more strict and not just give the advice. We're going to put some rules that what's going to be acceptable and not acceptable ads, because the ad block thing has been, it has growth. It has growth so much so that we need to be a little bit more strict. So that's one thing that we're going to do the first week in January, looking through some rules and implementing them as soon as possible. We also asked our ad blockers what type of ads they like. So it's not that they don't want ads, they just want it on their premises. And I've went through what type of things that they're complaining about, but we also look into what type of ads they want. And since it's quite a young age group that use it, it's quite maybe obvious that they want some information from concerts, cinema, restaurants, or information from local stuff like the state or city, and also quite stereotypical that men wants games, technology, cars, and women wants hygiene, fashion, cosmetics, etc. So we've actually tested hard coding ads, starting with this internet shop, and the requirement was that it needed to be static, it needed to be light in weight, and not any tracking. We had our own tracking that don't weight so much, so we actually looked through all the responses we received from the survey and putting that into action. So they had actually the same ads on VG the same day, and then the same ads for the ad blockers. And actually they had very good conversion. And conversion, I don't only mean click, I also mean buying. So again, that underlines that the ad blockers are not totally against ads. They just want it to be a pain-free visit when they go to these different web pages on the internet. So we also tested again with the same advertiser the week after, because Black Friday can be a good day. So they had again the same advertisement on the regular site, and then the same advertisement on for the ad blockers. And again, they received a very high conversion and interest on their web page. And we also tested this with SAS, kind of informative ad. So yeah, our conclusion is that we need to work with insights, having the dialogue with our ad blockers and finding all the way what are the reasons they have it, what do they feel now. I mean, I don't think we will get there that we have 0% or 5% ad blockers, because if you remember one of the diagrams that I showed earlier, there are some that download it and they have it all the time. I mean, even some of my coworkers download it to try it, and then they forget that they have it. And that's a lot of people out there downloading it and don't actually think about that they have it. So therefore, I think people will have it, but if we try to improve the whole user experience by trying to at least improve some of our things, then we can start forcing through ads like we did on these cases, because then it won't feel as annoying. Then they won't react, because when we first started with the blue horseshoe, the fourth picture that you can see from the left, we received a lot of emails. What is this, and why are you putting it out there? But when we had these ads, they didn't send a single email, and the customer didn't either receive any complaints. So it went under radar because it was not annoying. So again, ad blockers are not against ads. We just need to make the user experience better. And you can take a parallel like the pop-up ads. If you remember, once in a time, the pop-up ads came, and then the pop-up ad blocker came on these toolbars. So you could maybe compare these two scenarios with each other. So we definitely need to make the ad experience much better. And then you have two ways to do it, either blocking your site or you can force ads. So we will look through, I mean, VG started with all these different implementations, but since we're a part of a group, Schibsted Group, we're going to work a little bit more close with Schibsted from January next year to try to think about a solution that works for all our companies. But here in Norway, we started talking with our competitors, actually almost all of them, because we felt that this is not just our problem, it's a problem for the whole business. So we need to put our heads together and work with this together. So we discussed if we're going to block our site, we need to do it all together. So when you go to VG and you cannot read the news, then if you go to a competitor site, you cannot read the news there as well. So that we can give a signal effect to the ad blockers that we need to finance our journalism. So we are in dialogue with our competitors regarding this. So we will see exactly what we're going to do in the next year. But I think the very first step is to get insight, and the second one is to trying to do something with that insight, and that's what we have been doing and are continuing to doing with those things that I showed before regarding how the ads are, the downloading time, and such, and dare to be strict to the advertisers, because they won't benefit from this either, having users getting annoyed. Yeah, so I went through this a little bit quick, so I can answer some questions if you have some.
No, thanks very much, Elnaz. It's really, really interesting. And I saw the first comment that came up here was from Govette Plesman, who said really interesting research. So I think that's definitely a really good way of presenting the questions, because I know a lot of people are worried that when you put out a general survey to everybody, then you just raise awareness of ad blocking. But you asked that question only to people with ad blockers, right? Your questions.
Yes, correct. And they're so engaged. I mean, first, when we put it out, the ad, we were thinking that, okay, it's enough with a couple of hundred answers, but then we put it out there because everybody was engaged. You weren't forced to write comments. You could just select predefined answers, but they were so engaged. I mean, almost everyone left a comment. They're truly engaged and want to improve the site. They don't, I mean, most of them at least, don't want to block the site, but they're trying to make us understand why they're doing it. They say that they want to support the site, but they feel that they're forced to do it because, yeah, the site needs to improve on those type of things. But then there's some that's honest and saying that, oh, I download for instance, YouTube, but I didn't realize it also worked as VG, but that's convenient. So that's why you need to either force ads or forcing them to whitelist to read your page.
Okay, so we've got some questions coming in, and you just type them into the box on the right-hand side if you want to add to that. So one question from Mark Chalendas was, what about the rise of video ads, and what are your guidelines on that?
On video, we have the distributor that so the video ads have the technology that you can force through pre-rolls, but the video team has seen these answers, and I'm trying to force them to test a little bit and see what they can do, because as you saw, a lot of these questions were regarding display. I believe that we also need to get some insight about the videos, what we can do about the pre-rolls, because the media do not have the same inventory as YouTube, so it won't be applicable to have the 5-second landscape. So I definitely think there needs to be some testing to find out what should be the solution, because a lot of people are annoyed with the video ads.
So at the moment you have non-skippable pre-roll ads, or?
Yes, correct. We have skippable after 15 seconds.
Did you say 15 seconds?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we had another question from Peter de Schmet. What is VG's point of view about native advertising?
We have been focusing on native advertising lately, and we're going to continue doing so. But I don't believe that's the only solution for ad blocking. It's getting a little bit more integrated feel and look, but I don't think by converting all display ads to native advertising that you solve the ad block question. So yeah, I think that that cannot be the only strategy, because some may also feel that that's maybe not as transparent what's ad and what's not. So I can just show quickly this one. The 8% here that wrote it in the free text, they used it for another site, for instance, Facebook, that it was due to Facebook. I mentioned also that they cannot see the difference between main content and ads, and that can also be received as not a good experience. So therefore, I don't think that's the only solution. I think the main solution should be that it's a little bit integrated into how the page is built up, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be the same font or the same look as an article. But as long as it's not automatically that some ad is popping up without you clicking on it, or sound getting on without you clicking on it. So I think those type of adjustments is more important.
Okay, got a question from Søren Fredriksson, and he's saying, so that the check that you're doing on what kind of ad, so whether it's a blinking ad or in other ways annoying, is this something that you do manually on the ad ops side, or do you have any sort of automated workflow that can check ads and content?
I mean, when you sell programmatic, you have the opportunity to put a type of requirement. We haven't put the requirement yet, but you will have the ability to put, for instance, how many seconds of animation is allowed, how many loops. For instance, if, let us say this one here, if we would receive this one, then after, for instance, a couple of seconds, it would stop, or after doing the same thing 10 times, meaning loops, then it would stop. So we haven't defined the quantity of this, but we will do that in January. So that will be stopped both programmatic and also with the direct sales that's getting through ad ops.
Okay, so we should come back to you for sure in January for an update. A question from our team, in fact, from Valerie in our team based in France. Would you be able to explain a bit more about how you reduce the loading time on mobile? Because I think what we've seen is there's a slight mismatch. Some companies have got the engineers and the tech resources, and there's some that's more of a challenge. Was that an easy thing for you, or?
No, I mean, this is the first time I was about to say that we cooperated more with our product side and the commercial side, because this is not just the ad issue, it's also the product issue, because the website on its own is not always as fast, even though the ads make it more slow. But what I could do is to try to get a type of explanation from our tech side, and I don't know if you can distribute it after this webinar, what they have been doing, more concrete, that could help them, because they were involved in this and have more insight into exactly what we've been doing. But we had to involve the tech development. But one of the things is like lazy load implementation that I mentioned before, that we don't load the whole page. reload where the user is. So if they're on the above the fold, as they call it, where the screen is, we download that, and when you start to scroll down, we download that. So you don't have to download the whole page. That's one of the things. But I can definitely ask the development team to write a couple of points, and maybe you could distribute it afterwards.
Yeah, that'd be great. So to basically ask your web teams if we can do lazy loading. That's the message. I think it's a fairly standard industry term now, so that's... So, I mean, was one of the things you're considering to eventually force whitelisting? I mean, you were saying that was the only thing that was successful in getting people to whitelist?
Yeah, I mean, when we asked, one thing is that we asked what we need to do as we did to make people whitelist us, but we also were curious about what type of pages they have whitelisted to get an understanding, because sometimes in survey you can say one thing and then do another thing. So that's why we ask them, just control what they're saying, what they're meaning. And of those that said that they whitelisted a page, 43%, they said it was due to the fact that they were forced to do it. So that could be an effective way. Maybe you could also lose a couple of readers. That's the ones that answered this question said that they did it because they were forced to do it. And that comes back to the fact again that when you have adblock, it's really convenient. It just follows you around in the web. So when you come to a page that you regularly are using and then you cannot read the content, then you're willing to take it away. I mean, we've A/B tested to block our page, and it was actually only 1% that were willing to pay to see the page, and most of them were clicking on that they wanted to whitelist us. So that's a doable solution.
So, if you have a last question, I've got one more here. One is saying, we're going to share the presentation. It's very simple. We'll share the presentation after this. And we also have a recording of this available as well. I mean, just one question from my side. I mean, I know from Aftonbladet, from the other part of Schibsted in Sweden, you have probably more, on the mobile side, you have more people using the app than using mobile web, so maybe 60%. Is that the same for VG?
No, in Sweden the app users are far more. It's 70%. In Norway, it's approximately 30%.
So is that something you see as an ad blocking action to migrate more people to the app?
Yes, definitely. There are a lot of more commercial positive things if we could get the users to our app. I mean, in approximately 6 months, we've increased it from 25% to 30%. So we're having a clear strategy to get our users to the app.
Okay, well, I think we've got no more questions coming in right now, so I think it's a good time to say thanks very much to you, Elnaz. It's a really good presentation. I think the research is super useful for the people listening, and you guys are clearly kind of forging a path on ad blocking, but I think it's also good to see that you're trying to come up with new, more friendly formats. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, then it just remains to say wish everyone a good holiday period and a good new year, and look forward to more webinars in 2016. Have a good day.